me back to the sweet times, the hot nights. Everything is gonna be alright in the summertime.
Facility, or indeed welcome to the bus tour. Thank you all for signing up and coming along. I think you'll find it a pretty informative day. We start out here obviously at the Buttondurry Waste Management Facility, and we'll do a bit of a presentation. Then I'll go around in the bus and point some things out that we've talked about on the presentation, and then after that we head on out to Summersby, where the materials recovery facility is, where Michelle will take over and talk more about recycling and see some of the processes that go on out there. So we only run these trips twice a year. I think this time we're doing 3 in the year, so we're going to try to increase the trips. We find that the people that come along usually learn, there's always something that everyone learns. They find out a little bit more about recycling or landfilling and what goes on out here. So this one's in honour of World Environment Day, which I believe is actually tomorrow. So World Environment Day, so this is why I always try to coincide the trips. So we're out at the Waste Management Facility. My name is Jodie, so I work in Waste Management. I'm the Waste Officer out at Wyong Council. Up the back we have Michelle, who you would have met on the bus, and she works for Remondis, who's our waste and recycling contractor. So the one thing that I need to sort of update some of the slides. The next slide that I'm going to try to slip in when I get some time, that my boss definitely wants us to mention, is that the Buttondurry Waste Management Facility last year, in 2013, towards the end of the year, won the National Landfill Excellence Award. So that's all the landfills around Australia that put in a submission to say what they're doing. Buttondurry, we were very honoured to be chosen, because there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time and effort. There's a lot that goes into landfilling. It's not just throwing rubbish into the ground. It's all landfilling and basically trying to keep things out of landfill. But I think the reason why they won the award here, why we won the award, is because we've got all the it's all the environmental protection measures that we've got into place, and then all the environmental monitoring that we do to make sure that we protect the environment out here. And they actually go above the licence requirements. So there's a minimum standard, and we always try to reach for the highest standard that we can. So we're very honoured to be able to collect that award, and eventually I'll put a nice slide with my manager accepting the award. Okay, so basically we've got, let me see if we can leave that. Okay, so the site out here at Buttondurry is actually 260 hectares, which is composed within the outer red line. Where we've come in is we've driven up Huey Road. We've come in, and this little area here is where we've gone over to the weighbridge, and we've got the education room here. I apologise for the noise with the construction work going on. Just out here, a bit further out here, they're building all new office buildings, as I explained, a new education centre. So they intend to move all the waste staff and a whole lot of people out here, so that everyone will be working on site. And then we'll have the transfer area, which we'll see on the bus, is just across from the weighbridge. We've got the areas 1, 2 and 3, which they're the old landfill cells, which I refer to as hills, which you'll see as we drive around. They just look like great big hills with grass growing on them. And we drive up, and area 4 is where we've got a compost facility on site. So we don't just do landfilling here, we also do, we process compost, everything from your green bins, and we're also a drop-off area for a whole lot of recyclable products. We'll be able to see, hopefully, get a good view of the current landfill site where everything's being tipped, and also the new one that's being constructed. So the area itself, like I said, is 260 hectares. It's the only functional landfill and recycling drop-off facility in the Wyong Shire, and it's been going since 1990. And it was chosen because we've got the availability to the Buttondurry Creek that runs right down the middle. It's in a natural valley, which provides a bit of a buffer zone for noise and whatnot that'll go on out here. And we've got good soil and shale below, and also, of course, the proximity to the freeway. You notice we're very close to the freeway, so that's basically why the site was chosen. do out here. So in the Wyong Shire and Gosford Shire as well, we've got the three bin system, which everyone's probably really familiar with now. We usually refer to them as the red bin, the green bin and the yellow bin. So the yellow bin is all your recycling, which I won't talk about right now. Michelle will talk all about that when we get out to the recycling facility. So we'll discuss the red bin and the green bin. The red bin being the bin that you put all your waste, everything that you can't either recycle or turn into compost that goes into your red bin. So landfilling out here is around 140,000 tonnes a year that comes out here. That's made up of everything that goes into your red bin, also the curbside collections that you put out with all your household items, they all end up here. Also all the what we call the litter bins, the public place bins that we've got hundreds of them all around the Shire at different places, usually at parks and reserves and near beaches and maybe shopping centres. So all that and any sort of any other litter removal that council does, it all comes in here. As well as, I don't know if anyone's been here before with a carload, so that all ends up in landfill as well. Once you come in, they'll send you out to the transfer centre, which we'll have a look at, and then they take the recycling out, you'll put your recycling where it goes, and all the residue ends up in the landfill. I mean, you might remember even in my day when I was a child being able to come in and you know, scurry through the landfill and be able to pick. So obviously in this day and age with all the OH&S standards that we've got on, we can't even have cars go there just for safety reasons, so everyone gets taken to the transfer centre. Except for all the like all the Remondis trucks and other trucks such as like the charities where they're allowed to come and tip all the stuff that people donate that's not saleable. We also process the garden vegetation, and this little view down here is like a really good aerial shot of our composting facility, which is run by Australian Native Landscapes. It's our current contractor. When we get there, we'll go and have a look, but we can't drive in. It's not safe for us to drive in, but we'll just kind of come to a big wall of compost. So this is a really good picture down the bottom of the practices they do. So we get about 20,000 tonnes of garden vegetation in here. And that is from your green leaf garden vegetation bins, and also from all your garden vegetation that you put out the front for a bulk green waste collection, and also from all the garden works that council does. Obviously that all comes in here. And the difference with this site is that if you drive in and you've just got, you know, some trees and timber and like anything that's compostable to drop off, you can actually drive straight to the site and drop it off there. And we'll talk about the process they go through there a little bit later. We take concrete. The concrete, I guess, mainly comes in from council excavations or all sorts of works that council's doing. They'll bring the concrete in here and they store it in what we call a stockpile. And the only use that we use for the concrete, it's all recycled, but it's recycled in the way that we actually crush it up and we put it onto the surface of the tip face. When we have a lot of rain, we obviously need the trucks to be able to get traction under their tyres. So all the concrete that's crushed on site gets used on site. That's probably about one. That one is about 4,000 tonnes for the concrete. We also, like I said, we're also a drop-off facility. So this is what we'll see when we go to the transfer centre, where you can drive in and the guys there will help you sort out all the different bays of the different recyclable products. And metals is one of those products. So if you put your metals out the front for a curbside collection, they'll be collected by the contractor who will take them to the scrap metal place and cash them in there. And some of our old landfills that we have to remediate, which we've got about 5 active landfills that need remediation, which costs a lot of money. You know, they used to tip right near beaches. One of them many years ago, before my time, was out at right on the beach at, I think it's the Shelley Beach or North Shelley out there. Yeah, North Entrance Shelley area, and they've had to, that's a hard one to remediate. I mean, I don't know why anyone thought burying rubbish under the sand right near the water was a great idea, but so the environmental practices and monitoring, everything has changed a lot in the years, in the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years. They come up with better practices because we really have to protect the environment. Everyone knows this now. So I'll just go over a few things that they have to watch out for out here. Does anyone know what leachate is? So So leachate, basically, what I usually tell the kids groups, it's just garbage juice. So you'll see as the rubbish breaks down, and you'll even see this in your red lid bins. Sometimes if the rubbish sits there for a while, it's the really smelly yellow-brown liquid that starts forming in the bottom of the bin. So if you can imagine that on a big scale, you've got a little bit of that happening in the bin, but when in the active cells, and even the cells that have been closed 10 or more years ago, the rubbish continues to break down within the cells, within the hills, and the leachate, it goes down to the bottom. The number one thing of importance here is that the leachate is to never leave the site. The leachate contains acids and heavy metals from light globes and batteries and things like this, so it contains all these nasty things that we don't want in our water supply to contaminate our water supply. So we can't let the leachate leave site. So what they do is they channel all the leachate from all the cells, active and old cells, into leachate ponds, which I'll show you as we go around on the bus. And those ponds are then used to irrigate the hills to prevent. So at the moment we're up to, so we've got, like I said, we've got area 1, 2, 3. We're up to cell 4, so we're up to cell 4.3 at the moment. So area 4 is quite a large area, and they're using it the best way they can to maximise it. So we've got about, the current capacity of the current cell, which is almost full, is 600,000 cubic metres. That lasts around 3 to 4 years. In September last year, they started the construction of a new cell, which they hope will last around 6 years. This new cell is going to be about 1.1 million cubic metres, so quite a bit bigger than the ones that we've previous. As far as I'm aware, it's the biggest one they've gone under construction. And to give you an idea, that's a cell of that to last 8 years costs over $8 million to tell them how quickly the cells fill up. Because we've got approximately probably another 40 years left in area 4, where I'm going to show you where we've got the current cell and the new cell. And that's also where our composting facility is. Eventually the composting facility will have to move site, and we'll use that area as well as landfill. So we can probably get another 40 years out of our current site. We've got a whole area, a large area west of the site, which they can probably get another 50 or so years out of. But what council's looking into now is, and a lot of councils are doing it, is called AWTs, alternative waste technologies, so that you recycle it, get all your recyclables out, everything you can, but then everything else they process in a way so that they can produce gas or electricity off it and reduce the size down significantly. So if that happens, we can increase the current landfill from 40 years to possibly over 80 years. Generally, the green lid bin tends to be the one that I think most people, and everyone probably knows. You want to shout out things that can go into your garden vegetation bin. Clippings, that's right, yep, glass clippings and prunings and leaves and twigs and small branches and small shrubs and weeds and untreated timber. All these sorts of things, it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that we like to point out too is the things like palm fronds, which I also have at my house. They need to be sort of cut down. It's really important that the lid can be closed. If the lid doesn't close, it makes it really difficult for the truck to empty the vegetation into the back of the truck. And also, if the palm fronds are already this wide, they cause problems with the hopper in the truck and the compactor, and causes all sorts of problems. So if you leave your lid open, you know, a little bit so they can get away with it. But if your lid's like way open, they might put a sticker on there and say, look, we couldn't empty your bin. It's not because they're trying to be difficult, it's because they physically couldn't empty the bin into the truck, it just won't go in. So that's the main tip with the green bin, just to only place all sorts of green items in there. I don't think we get too many people placing garden hoses and things in watering cans like we used to. But there still is a contamination rate, so we're still onto the education about only put green stuff in there. So when the truck goes around and collects all the green waste, either from the curbsides, but also from the garden curbsides or from your green vegetation bin, it'll bring it out here, it'll drop it off to our composting facility run by Australian Native Landscapes. They then grind it all up. Well, actually, no, I skipped a really important step. Before they grind it all up, people have to remove all the contamination by hand, and that's why we ask people not to contaminate. Do waste audits. Every other year or every couple of years, the state government, usually dictated by the state government, that we have to do some waste audits where we go around and get random bins when they're out in the middle of the night, and they're not accounted to the houses, but they just have to weigh them, and then people sort through them. So it's just a process to figure out what are people putting in their red bin, their green bin and the yellow bin, and what are the things they're putting in there that they should be or they shouldn't be. So this is what came out of that a few years ago when we did one on the red lid waste bin, where get people rolling with this to get more worm farms and compost bins. So I don't know if you know, but advertise on the council websites and also in newspapers and some, I think possibly on the radio. Our waste department runs a whole lot of different workshops. One that I actually attended was the worm farming and composting, so people will actually teach you how to do worm farming, composting. There's other ones like natural cleaning as well, other ones on small gardening in small areas, a little bit of permaculture. So all these things we're doing from government funding, which is basically the levy that we've paid, the levy we've had to pay the state government for bringing all the waste over the weighbridge. We get a percentage of that back, and that money is to be spent on sustainability initiatives. www.onecoast.com.au. So there's a whole, I think we're just about to have an exciting revamp of the website, so it's going to look so much better, which I think it'll be a lot more easily navigatable, and you can interact a lot more. So that'll be coming up sometime before the end of the year, hopefully. But we do have the website, so Michelle will explain that a bit more in her presentation, all the different things that you can do on the website. But that's it for the presentation side of things. Does anyone have any questions that hopefully I can answer? I can't always answer all of them, but we've also got Brian, who runs the landfill out here. He can answer a lot more than me. But yes.
Did you say that sewage waste goes into the potting mix?
Yeah, that's right. So the biosolids from the sewage treatment plant come out and they get mixed into things like potty mix, and that's why they always say it's really important to, when you're working with the potty mix, to put the gloves on. And that's what, because it's was it Legionella? Legionnaires that you can get from working with it. So that's why it's really, really important to put gloves on when you're working with the potty mix. Yeah, I mean it's a sustainable method to it's just how potty mix is made, but obviously it gives us something to do with all because they refine it all the water goes back in, and then all the solids can come out here and they get used. As we turn, we might be able to see this stuff. It's always different every day, every time I do a tour, it's always sort of totally different. So that's, yeah, this is where they're chipping, just over to our left, or about to be sort of behind us. And actually this is quite a good view of, this is the best view that I've been able to get so far of the current cell that they're still constructing. I don't know how far off that is being finished. They started in September last year. I think it takes about a year to construct one, so probably around September this year, I imagine. Yeah, I'm just going to move around slowly, but on the current landfill site you can see all the different trucks that work there. There's the 40.
want that back?
We need to evacuate for any reason today, which I'm sure we won't. But if we do, we just need to go straight out the door that we came in, straight back down that path we went to and into our car park, and that's our emergency evacuation area. If you need the toilets today, they're just through this room here. And I just ask that everyone does stay together today. We can't have people sort of going out the front and wandering around our site. We have too many truck movements for that, so we do all need to stay together. So we'll do a short presentation, and the same people, it's all the same information and same setup, we just have a different company we're working under now. So we've got about 3.5 years left of the contract that we're running with the councils. So the contract is to come around and empty all of the bins, so your 3 bins. We also provide the service for the bulky waste collections as well, so we'll come and remove them. We empty all of the litter bins for the councils too. We also operate a customer service program, so if you ring council about your bins, you'll come through to us here. And we also operate an education program for the councils to educate residents on their 3 bins, predominantly on what they can recycle. So it's a big focus on the yellow bin with that education program. So we run days like today. We also have school excursions, and we go out to preschools and speak to children that are 3 and 4 years old about recycling. We go out to community groups such as Provers Clubs or Country Women's Associations and talk to them as well. And we also run advertising programs and competitions to try and get people more aware of recycling and just try and get it out in the, I guess, the environment where people are, so they might happen to look at an ad and learn something new about what they can recycle. We can put most paper and cardboard in your recycling bin, so all of your food boxes, like Weet-Bix boxes or the boxes your tea bags or biscuits come in, are all fine to go in. Your fresh milk cartons and egg cartons are okay. All of your paper, so your glossy magazines, they're okay. All of the brochures and catalogues, newspapers, wrapping papers, they can all go into your yellow bin. Even the envelopes can go in with those little plastic strips in them still. You don't have to tear all of those out. Pop them in as well. You don't have to take staples out of your magazines, and you don't have to remove the sticky tape from large boxes. So they can deal with all of those little bits and pieces when we're recycling them. With paper and cardboard, we do prefer you to put it in your recycling bin flat. So if it's a large box, if you can try and flatten it before it goes in your bin, that makes it much easier when we're sorting it. If you don't read your newspaper, we need you to take that elastic band and plastic bag off it still, pop those into your general waste bin, and try and unroll your newspaper and pop that into the recycle bin flat. So we notice a lot of people leave their papers out the front till bin day, and they all just go in wet and soggy in the bags still. So we do need those items separated. We can recycle your steel cans. So your steel cans are the cans that have your food in them, so tins of tomatoes or tuna. Also pet food cans can be recycled, and coffee tins and Milo cans. And we can also recycle your aerosol spray cans. So they're made from steel and they're 100% recyclable. With aerosol, we ask that you limit it to something you use on yourself or in the house. So deodorant, hairspray, cooking oil spray, air freshener, Aerogard, your Blend 20s, all of those things are fine, but no spray paints, no degreasers from the garage, or no outdoor bug sprays. We can recycle any rigid plastic bottle or container from your kitchen, bathroom or laundry. We used to ask you to look for triangles and numbers on your plastics. You don't have to do that anymore. As long as it's a rigid bottle or a rigid container. So it needs to hold a shape and be a hard plastic is the best way to think of it. So a good example is we can take your biscuit trays. So if it's a packet of Tim Tams, the tray that those biscuits sit in, we can recycle that. But we can't recycle the wrapper around the outside of it. So that's a soft plastic and we can't recycle those. If you're in the habit of looking for numbers and if it's something that you just like to do, we can take all of them. So that's fine, it doesn't matter what the number is on the bottom of the plastic. but it does need to be rigid, so it has to have that shape. So a hard plastic, no soft scrunchy plastic wrappers. We can recycle glass bottles and jars that are clear, green or brown in colour. So all of your beer bottles, wine bottles, medicine and vitamin jars are all okay. Vegemite jars, pickle jars, olive jars, jam jars, they can all go into the recycling bin.
So do you need to wash them?
Two questions, one about lids and one about washing, was it? Okay. And I will cover this a bit later, but yes, you can put your lids in, but we do prefer them separate. So with your glass, it's usually a metal or a plastic lid, so we need them separated for recycling. With your plastics, it's normally a different grade of plastic on the lid to the bottle. So again, if they're separated, it makes it easier for us to recycle it. They need to be empty, is the best way to think of it. So we don't expect people to wash the recycling anymore. As long as it's empty, it's okay. If you do prefer to wash your recycling, that's great, because when it gets to the factory, it's not as nasty for the people to sort through. But we do suggest that you use dirty washing up water or something like that. Like, you don't need to use clean, fresh water on it. So as long as it's empty, that's okay.
Labels on tins.
You can leave your labels on the tins, that's fine. We can recycle your aluminium drink cans, so your soft drink cans and beer cans, as well as clean our foil and foil trays. So if it's a meat pie and it comes on a tray, you can pop that tray into your recycling bin. Or if you've had a barbecue and you've used one of those disposable foil trays, you can pop that into your recycling bin. Again, they need to be relatively clean, so if it's covered in things, we can't take those. And again, with the foil, if you've just covered some leftovers with a sheet of foil and it doesn't have food or bake to it, you can pop that into your recycling bin as well. So that's the main list of what we can recycle. I guess something to think about is that it's basically packaging. So it's all things that you throw out, usually every day. And that's a good way to think about your recycling. It's been designed for things that are being thrown out every day. If it's something you don't throw out every day, that's when you need to stop and think, well, should this go into the yellow bin? It's all being designed in a factory to be able to sort it, and that's why it's all those common things that we throw out every day, because it's been designed around those.
With those Tetra Paks.
We'll talk about the nose in a second, and that's definitely one of our nose. So our important recycling tips. Don't place your recycling in a plastic bag. So we get lots of people that will get all of their recycling and they'll have it separated out perfectly, and then they'll put it in a plastic bag, tie it up and put it into the recycling bin. We also get people that will get all of their rubbish, their food scraps, their dirty nappies, put that in a plastic bag, tie it up and put it in the recycling bin as well. So when we're sorting the recycling, we can't stop and open up every single plastic bag to see if it has bottles and cans in it or if it's just full of rubbish. So anything that comes here in a plastic bag will go to the rubbish section of the factory, even if it's just got recycling in it. So it's important to put your recycling into the bin loosely. It's also important, something that a lot of people do as well, they might get their Weet-Bix box, then they'll put their milk bottle in it, they'll put a couple of cans in it and a jar, because it's easy to carry it like that down to your bin. That's okay to carry it to your bin, but then empty it out into your bin loosely, because it can stay in that box when we're sorting it, and again, they can't sit there and pull everything out. So if you can put them all into your bin loosely, then it's much easier for us to sort it. Our next two tips we've just talked about, so make sure your recyclables such as your jars, bottles and cans are empty and contain no liquid or food, and remove the lids from all your glass and plastic bottles and containers and jars and place them in your recycle bin separately. If you happen to leave your lids on, they still will get recycled. It just makes the process easier. So it's one of those things, if you do it, that's great. If you forget, well, it will still get recycled, but it's just an extra step that may need to happen.
If you had 6 or 8 leads, would you want them together or just
Just separate. Yeah.
And 10 leads?
So with the tin lid, say if it's a tin of tomatoes, the best thing to do with that is once you've finished and you've given it your quick rinse or wipe out, pop the tin lid inside the can, gently squeeze the top together and it will stay in that can and that will definitely get recycled then. Yeah. Recycling if you have a lot of them, but your wrappers, unfortunately there's not a great deal we can do with plastic wrappers from bread bags or chip packets, so they all need to go into the red bin. Polystyrene or styrofoam is a type of plastic and it will have a recycling symbol on it. Unfortunately, there's not a great deal of recycling of that product happening in Australia, so it's something we can't accept. And then any breakable item that's not a glass bottle or a jar, so things like ceramics, cookware, Pyrex, light globes, drinking glasses, vases, window glass, we can't take any other type of breakable item. The reason for that is we know that glass bottles and jars are the same type of glass, they're made to the same thickness and they melt at the same temperature when we recycle it. When we start adding different bits of glass to the mix, it could be a Pyrex jar which is made to go in an oven and withstand really hot temperatures. It could be a ceramics, like a coffee cup, which won't melt at all, doesn't melt at all if we try to put it in the furnace. So when these items get mixed in with the recycling, they will end up in our glass section. It's impossible for us to separate it out because they're all broken together. So one coffee cup will run about 1 tonne of glass for recycling. So it's a small item that has a really big impact. So only glass bottles and jars, no other types of breakables. Did you have a question?
How can we tell polystyrene from ordinary plastic?
So it's an expanded foam and you'll be able to break it. So you can snap it. So it's like your disposable coffee cup. Or
so all that packing in boxes?
Yeah, none of that, yeah. So if you can break it, if you can snap it, and it's a foamy type of item, then that's polystyrene. Meat trays, yeah.
And those black plastic meat trays, are they all right?
Polystyrene foam ones, so if it's a black hard plastic, if it's a hard plastic we can do it, if it's a polystyrene we can't. So if you can snap it and break it, we can't do it. So the long life cartons we can't recycle as well, and I'll pass some around so you can have a look. Because they do have recycling symbols on them. It's because of the foil lining on the inside. So they have a foil lining, a plastic coating, and the cardboard's squished between them. Where we send our cardboard to, they don't have the technology to separate those layers to get the cardboard out. Excuse me. Recycling bin still, but we're sticking to that because we really think they are a hard item to recycle and they probably will just go to landfill once they get down there. So if you use them, pop them in your red bin. If you do put them in your yellow bin, it's okay, it hasn't ruined the whole truckload of recycling. It just means we have to sort them out. So if you can, try and remember to pop them into your... So paper's paper, it can be recycled, but when it's shredded, it mixes through the truck and it starts to wrap around everything, gets mixed in with all the bottles and cans, and it's just too small and fine for us to separate out from everything else. So even though paper can be recycled, it's the way it's presented and the fact that we have to sort paper from bottles and cans that means that we can't take it. If you're shredding because of privacy issues, what we suggest is if it's, say, a bank statement or a bill, rip your details off the top and shred that smaller piece of paper. Then with the rest of your bill, based on what the lasers have recognised. What I'm going to do is show you a video first of the sorting happening, and then we'll look at some live footage of them working up there this morning as well. Using sand, could use this product instead. They can crush it to different grades, so they can make it finer or they can make it coarser, depending on what people's requirements are. And it makes up 30% of the glass we get through coming here, and it used to go to landfill because there was no market for it. So now that someone's come up with a way of reprocessing it and a market to reuse it, It's really saving it going to landfill. And it just shows you that our old things don't always have to go back into packaging. There are other things we can do with them. And this, I think, you know, there's a lot of issues at the moment with sand mining in Australia and the sand resources starting to run out. So this kind of thing really just shows a great alternative to something that we could be doing with it. Another thing that can happen with glass is that it can be spun and turned into a type of insulation. So this is an insulation made from 100% recycled glass. So you can pass that one around as well. And you can buy this type of product at Bunnings even, so it's available to everyone to purchase. And the installers apparently like to use this because it's not as itchy as the other type of insulation product. Yeah, so... Well, it's not the same as a fiberglass. I'm not too up to speed with exactly how it's different. But it's a type of fiberglass, but not the itchy kind, so, yeah. Yes?
So what about the old videotapes? They can't go in recycling?
We can't take any of the old videotapes, unfortunately, and the main reason is because of the tape in them. It gets wrapped around all the machinery.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that goes in the red bin?
In the red bin, yeah. As far as Jodie might know something.
Yeah. For the time being anyway, they are actually accepting them in e-waste. It's
Oh,
not
there
big
you
and
go.
widely known because I don't know how much longer they actually will accept them with the e-waste recycling. So you can drop that off at
So at that stage they'll need to strengthen it up. They'll put some new ingredients in it to help strengthen it back. And it then goes into this pellet form. So that's now our new PET plastic, our recycled PET, which could be turned into any new item. It could be turned into a fleecy jumper, or it could go into furniture or carpet. But more than likely it will be turned back into a bottle again. So what they do is they melt that plastic down into what we call a baby bottle, and then they use injection moulding to blow that up into your soft drink bottle. So when this comes around, you can see the lids are the same size, but the plastic's much thicker at this stage. So it's going to thin the plastic right out and fill up that mould shape. Yeah, so we call it a baby bottle. All of our metals are 100% recyclable. So by that we mean you don't need to add anything to it to strengthen it up. Or to a car manufacturer or to someone that's making colourborn steel and turn it into those new items. It's one of the best things we can be recycling our metals, but it's one of the things that we recycle the least of. They're the main thing we see coming into our red bins with recycling. So it's important to make sure all of those cans go into the yellow bin. They estimate some of the aluminium in our soft drink cans was mined over 50 years ago, and we've recycled it that much that we're still using it now. Glass is also 100% recyclable, so they don't need to strengthen it when they're recycling it. But our plastics and our paper, they do weaken when we recycle them, so they do need to strengthen them back up each time we recycle them. So all of the metals go to local metal recyclers from here, so they're just sold to the Sims or whoever's got the best price going down there. You do a good job of talking up there. So in 2013 we recycled 38,940 tonnes in our yellow bins, or about 120 kilos per person for the year. The benefits of that, we've saved over 107,000 cubic metres of landfill space. That's the best benefit locally. The fact that our council still owns their own landfill is great, and the more that we can keep that happening and the longer that we can preserve that space by recycling, it's really great for our local community. So that is really the best benefit for us locally, recycling. We've also reduced the impact of global warming and prevented 19,553 tonnes of greenhouse gases, which is equivalent to removing 4,696 vehicles permanently from the roads. We've also saved more than 648,000 gigajoules of energy, or enough energy to power 3,002 homes for 1 year.